Ahoy, fellow viewers. This is another episode of Boat Talk, and today we have as a guest Cas Bouhof, who is the creative director at Below Enemy Lines, an advertising agency here in Rotterdam. He's also working currently for a project called The Dam, the Alternative Munt, which I'm really curious to hear more about. Welcome with me, Cas Bouhof.
Thank you.
Glad to have you today.
Yeah.
What is your story? Are you originally from Rotterdam or you are from a different part in Holland?
My grandparents grew up in Rotterdam during the World War, World War II. And after that they helped rebuilding the city, and my grandfather got a job opportunity in Zealand.
Okay.
So my grandparents and my mother left to Zealand. And there she met my father and she got me.
Okay.
So I grew up in Zealand, and around my 18th I decided to study here in Rotterdam. And I never left ever since.
So you stayed in Rotterdam and you started your company here, Below Enemy Lines.
Yeah.
What were the initial steps that you had to take, and what was your main idea behind creating that company?
Well, after my study advertising, I've been working in advertising agencies, 3. And the main reason I wanted to start for myself was that I couldn't find what I was looking for in advertising. The advertising scene was really it was really put on getting as much money out of the clients and trying to make the biggest assignments as possible. And in advertising, it's not common that you try to take care of the environment and take care of other aspects of the world and durability in advertising as well. I really miss that in the agencies I've been working at. So after my study advertising, I tried to. I already knew that I wanted to start my own company. I traveled around the world. Had a lot of thoughts about what I wanted to do in my own company. But when I got back, I really figured out that I needed more experience. So for 1.5 years, I've been working at several agencies here in Rotterdam, also as a freelancer, and always focusing on what can I get for the experience to use in my own company. And like 1.5 years later, I decided this is the moment to start. So I started from my own attic. I got a computer, an Apple, of course, and just started going to networking days and entrepreneurship days, and always trying to tell my story to new clients. That resulted in a few people that were willing to work with me. And it started really slow, really small assignments, making an identity, making a logo, helping to fill a website, for instance. I always try to put my touch into the products that I developed for my clients, and always try to put more in it than they asked. And that was the reason why it was growing, because every time that they come with a small assignment, I always told them, you can get this as well. We can try to put sustainability in the concepts. We can try to put real photos instead of stock photos in the content for the site. Yeah. I was always thinking with my clients, and that really helped. So like 3 years later now, we have a studio with 6 people.
So you try to always give a bit more than what the client maybe expected, and to help him a bit more to include other themes into the whole team. Yeah?
And most of the clients that are not particularly working on durability or cutting down the waste in their advertising and communications, they're pretty curious about what it means, what we can do for them, because the environment and the sustainability is a big issue at the moment in business land. I really figured out that companies that have an advantage on their competing companies, competing businesses when they are trying to get sustainability involved in their projects, in their advertising communications. You have a head start when you try to put it in your communications as well. And a lot of companies at the moment are trying to get all their responsibilities down on paper and trying to get their distributors sustainable as well. But none of those companies think about getting their advertising and communication sustainable. So I guess I'm filling a gap there. Most of the companies I talk to are really interested in advertising and sustainable communications for themselves.
Could you maybe like give an example of first of all, like what kind of advertising projects there are and what way specific maybe there exists to make things more sustainable?
Well, it starts with the incredible waste in communications. Most companies, if they have a small campaign or a small action, they always the first thing that comes into their minds is we have to make posters, we have to make flyers, we have to press a lot of paper and distribute it to a lot of people.
And then it ends in a bin. And
it ends in a bin. It ends on the streets. And you know, I'm not complaining about it. I know that this is the way it has been for a lot of years, so that's okay. But we're trying to let them think the other way, because when we sit at the table with those companies or with those directors, we always ask them, what's the reason you want to do the campaign? Because maybe there are other possibilities to do as well. You don't make flyers as a reason. You want to spread your story or spread your company message. And there are a lot of ways to do that. And so that's one example. We don't make flyers. We don't believe in pressing paper for that case.
That sounds very sustainable, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It also now resonates to the slogan that you have, which is cut the waste, start making great advertising, right?
Yeah.
Is this kind of focused on the sustainable idea, or does it also mean that many companies try to like have too much content and advertising, and it's more important to focus on simplicity?
It's both. It's both. Because on the one side you have the companies that waste a lot of communication materials, that use what I told you already, the posters and the flyers and stuff, but that's one thing we can help them with. But on the other side, I think there is a big thing to gain when we try to help them to make the message clear. And that's cut the waste as well. If your message is really clear, if your message is really focused on what you want to achieve with your company, then you don't need all those advertising to get your customers in.
Yeah.
The more focused your message is, the better your campaigns will work. The less materials you need to get the targets that you have to that you had in mind.
Okay.
Because that's a cut the waste as well. Most companies have a lot of different channels where they communicate with prospects and potential clients. And it really is a big advantage if you just bring it all back, make a really strong message, strong strategy, and just put it on all the channels, the different channels, the same message.
Okay.
Because that's what cut the waste is as well. I mean,
also waste of time in that sense. Like
it's a waste of time.
Time efficient, and makes sense.
And there's even a third aspect of the cut the waste aspect, is that companies are also, but that's not our business. But we help them to realize that if they make their company more structured as well, they gain a lot as well. They gain happier clients, they gain happier employees, they earn money because they're cutting the crap as well inside the business. Because that's the reason cut the waste for us is like it has so many aspects, and it's just a really strong opening sentence to start the conversation with the parties we are talking with.
And you're also working, besides the Below Enemy Lines, as I mentioned earlier, for the Alternative Munt, which is, for everybody who doesn't speak Dutch, the Alternative Munt means like the alternative coin. It's a local currency that businesses and entrepreneurs can use to interact with each other. Could you explain a bit the idea behind it, and when did you start to get into the boat, basically? Not this boat, but the...
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, 1.5 years ago we started with them. We just had the banking crisis behind our backs, and we just wanted to make an alternative for the euro. We started to investigate all the opportunities and the possibilities of creating your own currency. And half a year later we found out that there is an open source software for banking called Cyclas. And we started to implement that in our systems. There was no specific idea about how it would work, except for the fact that we had an open source banking system.
Okay.
Then we started to figure out what are the parameters for making a successful alternative currency. And then the whole world opened to us. We had no idea there were like 6,000 alternative currencies in the world
already existing.
Okay. And most of them flourish in areas where there's not much money. But we also found out that there are a lot of triggers for successful currencies exist. For instance, it has to be local. Because one of the major reasons local currency or alternative currencies work is because people trust each other and want to exchange rather with the people they know than people outside of the circle. So that was the next part of the dam. We had to make it local. So for now the dam is for Rotterdam, and we're planning to expand for big Rotterdam, so also the surrounding areas as well. But that's it for now. The other important aspect of an alternative currency is the balance of the system, because that's one of the reasons why the banking crisis occurred, was because it's an unbalanced idea. The debts are growing. The people are not capable of paying back all the debts that they have. Not only people, but governments as well. It's really disturbing if you read about it, but that's not why we're here. But that was the next gap we had to jump was how do we create a stable system that also is easy to understand for people. So we got the Cyclas system running, and we put the parameters in there that it's a closed system. We don't have credit cards, we don't have cash money, we don't have coins. It's only online. So that's the reason that we can track all the dams that are going through the system, and we can also it's also one circle. The next thing we introduced in the system was everyone who opened our account should have some credit to start trading. Because if everyone who opens an account has 0 dam, then nothing happens. So we came up with the idea to every account gets 500 dam credit, and you pay no interest, and everybody starts at 0. But the fun aspect of that every account holder starts at 0 but has 500 dam credits is that the whole group of people that have accounts, all the debts and the pluses together are 0 always. So that's the reason why it's a balanced system. So if we are the only two with an account, and we have both 0 and 500 credits, I can pay you 10 dam, and you go 10 dam in the plus, and I go 10 dam in the minus. But together it's still 0. But it works for all the 380 account holders that we have already. Is it
380?
Yeah. And the sum of all the accounts are still 0. That's a pretty cool concept. There's no bank in the middle. But we realized that people who open an account also need to have the capability to earn money. So we realized that we have to check that the people who open an account have the capability to earn money. So we decided to make those accounts only available for people who have their own company. As a freelancer, as a retail, as a normal business, whatever, but you have to have a way to earn money. So civilians at the moment don't get any credits. Because a lot of people were really interested in what we were doing. We did introduce a special account for people that don't own a company and just are civilian. But you start at zero and you have no credits. So you have to figure out a way how to earn your first DAMs if you want to use it. So that's in short how the DAM account holders got into the system. And then we have the practical. We've been here around for 1.5 years now, and we figured out that most account holders have a lot of questions. Yeah. So we thought about to have every month we have a meeting where we explain how DAM works, and you can meet other DAM account holders. We created a marketplace on the internet where you can, on the website, so you can advertise your own products or services on the website, and you can sell them there as well. And last half year we had 20,000 DAMs circling around the network.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, how did you approach people with the idea, and how was like the evolution of people getting involved with them? Was it difficult at start to convince people of the idea, and is it still difficult to convince other people that are not yet in the DAM?
There's a really clear line between two groups of people. The people are really enthusiastic and wanted to start now with DAM, and there's a group of people that are really skeptical about it. And I have encountered a lot of those people from both of the groups. And for me, the most interesting group to talk about or to talk with is the skeptical group. Yeah. Because I see that every time I talk to skeptical people, they have a lot of questions. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand why it's an alternative for the euro. They don't understand what's wrong with the system now. So give me 15 minutes and we explain the concept to them. But it's a good question, because we've been trying for 1.5 years to convince people to open an account, and for us it really makes sense to do so. So but every time when we meet someone skeptical, we have to start all over again and try to explain in short why it's good and how it works, and then
Okay, then let's assume I would be an entrepreneur in Rotterdam and I heard about DAM. What would you tell me is like the main benefits that I would get from joining DAM?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are two reasons why we think companies and entrepreneurs should use DAM. Most of the entrepreneurs and freelancers I know don't work 40 hours a week. They have spare time. And I know supermarkets, for instance, or retail stores or shops that have products that they don't sell. Because we don't want them to replace your euro income stream. We want them to expand it. Because if you have spare time, it's more easy to find new jobs in the DAM network, because people easily spend them than you would if you were trying to get it in Euroland, to say it like that. So we've been talking to a barber shop that has like 5 seats and 2 people working there, and most of the time only 1 person is in there, or sometimes 2, but they have a lot of spare capacity. And that's the reason why DAM is really attractive for that barber, for instance, because they're the only one accepting DAM. So people actually drive to that barber shop to get their haircut in DAM. And they're not replacing their euros. The people who were paying euros to get their hair done there are still coming. But there are more people coming now because they also accept DAM. And that's one side of the story, because the other side is you can replace some of your euro costs with DAM. So for instance, you pay rent on your for the place where you run your company, but you also need an accountant. We have 3 accountants in the network, so you can replace the euro cost that you have to pay your accountant. You can replace it with DAM. So that also means that the euros that you were earning, you don't have to spend that euro on your accountant. So it's a double win. You keep the euros in your pocket that you would normally spend on costs, and you can use the income you generate for your overcapacity to rent your accountant.
Do you think that the Dam could be a kind of role model for other local currencies in Europe? Is this idea of a local currency something that other cities might catch up in the future also?
Well, we created a vision for ourselves that we believe that in 5 or 10 years alternative currencies are more common than they are now. Because what I already told, and there are a lot of benefits on having alternative currencies. They don't replace euros, they extend the possibilities for earning money. We're not an example in the world because there are a lot of longer existing examples that are really successful. For instance, the Bristol pound in England is really successful. But in England you can also pay your taxes with the alternative currency, the Bristol pound. It's really nice. And in Switzerland you have the WIR, the WIR, and that has been there for over 80 years.
Oh wow!
And it's a really successful alternative currency as well. It's local. It's only for a part of Switzerland. But that's gotten really big. They have banks and everything around it. So if you're looking for really successful examples, there are in the world more successful examples than the Dam. But here in Holland, we're doing pretty good. We got invitations all around the Netherlands to come talk about how we did it, and we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs in other areas that want to start their own currency, and they want us to explain them how to do it. The reason that we do those talks is because we decided to stay in Rotterdam for now. So the only thing we can do is help other people to start their own currencies in Holland, and maybe someday we can put it all together, but not for now.
Not for now, okay.
No.
And what are the goals of the Dam, let's say, for the next 5 years, the next 10 years? How large would you like to expand the network? And
there are like 100,000 entrepreneurs in this area. The bigger Rotterdams, also the surrounding areas. But we have a realistic goal. We want to achieve 5,000 account holders in 5 years, and that we don't want them all to be enthusiastic about it. We just want people to understand the concept and understand the idea, open an account and do a transaction, because that's the only way how you can get familiar with the idea and get familiar with the idea of alternative currencies. So yeah, if it's possible that we have like 5,000 account holders in 5 years, from which 2,000 or 3,000 are really active, then we're really happy. Yeah.
And in what ways so far are you involved with the city of Rotterdam or the local councils? Did they just hear about the idea? Did they express their interest in it?
They're really interested in the idea, in the concept, because we help small businesses that are struggling to get their head above the water financially. We help them with the system to achieve more revenue. So it could make a difference between an entrepreneur who has to quit or can survive with the addition of them. So they're really interested, but the city council is a very traditional institute, of course. They rely on euros, they rely on money, and they don't have the entrepreneurial feeling. They just got budgets every year. I don't think that in the near future there's gonna happen anything big with the city council, but it's good to have the city council in your back, supporting you. Yeah. It's already a good thing if they talk about it and they say that's interesting, because that means that other people they think we are reliable.
Yeah. Then looking at the Dam and what I hear about it, I see a team of very enthusiastic people who like the entrepreneurial environment in Rotterdam. If I'm correct. Like, what is your take on that? What do you think are the opportunities for entrepreneurship in Rotterdam and for entrepreneurs in general here?
it's really easy to compare Rotterdam with other successful cities like Amsterdam or The Hague, where all the big companies are located already. But that's also the reason that Rotterdam is a really free environment for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of space to develop, and there's a lot of space to get new clients. I already figured out that if I wanted to start my company in Amsterdam, I had around 7,000 or 8,000 other agencies to compete with. Here in Rotterdam, it's around 100, 200. So only for competing, it's already a good environment here in Rotterdam, because there is enough work to distribute. There's enough space and work and clients here in Rotterdam to work with together. We don't compete with other agencies at the moment. On the other hand, there are a lot of multinationals located here in Rotterdam that are actually looking for ways to work with Rotterdam companies. Most of them didn't find it earlier, and went to Amsterdam for agencies, went to Amsterdam for other business opportunities and stuff. And I have the feeling that the environment here in Rotterdam is getting better and better for companies, and that bigger multinationals and bigger companies are starting to look inside Rotterdam for business opportunities. There's a lot of space to develop.
So you see like a kind of upcoming trend of entrepreneurs here in the city, and
for sure, yeah.
Also, larger companies focus more on Rotterdam than only Amsterdam before.
That's true, yeah.
If you would summarize Rotterdam as a city in one sentence or one phrase, what would you choose?
I feel space.
Space.
I have the feeling that there's so much space here in Rotterdam to do what you want, what you dream of. People in Amsterdam or other big cities are fighting for their space. All the galleries, all the advertising agencies, but also all the retail shops and all the small restaurants and cafes, they're all fighting for their space. There's so much competitiveness in other cities that are really crowded. And the reason that Rotterdam wasn't the famous place to start your own business like 10, 20 years ago. So the city council and other companies really invested in making this environment ready for this entrepreneurship. And that's working at the moment. There are so many opportunities that you can take. There are so many artists that I know that can get things done here in Rotterdam that are impossible in other cities. It feels like the Berlin of...
the Berlin of Holland. Yeah, great. What do you think are the most important skills that an entrepreneur must have?
Yeah, when you start as an entrepreneur, you know, and you see around, you look around and you see what works and what's successful. But you also need to see what's not there yet that will be successful when you develop it in the right way. And you always need to stand in the shoes of the people that are going to use your product or or in my case, my clients. I've seen a lot of companies that think about themselves and selling their products and not having in mind what their customers want. And I think a successful entrepreneur is really good in feeling what's not there yet, what should be there. And I always tell the example of the iPad. When the iPad came around, people thought it was the most stupid device ever invented. But they created something that people didn't know that they wanted it, and that's really strong. That's what I try to do with my agency. People don't see why you want to make your agency all around durability, for example. And when I explain it to you, you understand it. But at the first sight, it's like as an agency, you want to help your clients in the best way and not always put durability first. But that's what successful entrepreneurs do. I think they know what's not there yet, what will be a success.
What kind of personal advice could you give someone who's, let's say, right now thinking if he should go to a big agency or if he would start his own company, who's like at this verge of deciding?
The big agencies are really stuck in their way of thinking in traditional advertising. You see the small agencies that are more flexible to adjust on the new developments in advertising and the new developments in communications. But the most flexible way you can imagine is doing it yourself. You don't have anyone who distracts you from your goal. So if you have the idea that you want to develop yourself, but you want to get experience first at a big agency, don't expect to get the experience you need now at this time. You'll get the experience how advertising has been working for 100 of years.
Yeah.
But there's so much challenges at the moment, like durability environment as well, but also in the way people communicate to each other, like with all the devices, people getting tired of using Facebook and Twitter and all the upcoming apps. You need to be really fast and flexible if you want to be successful in advertising communications. So yeah, to start with the bigger companies, I don't think they're going to make it.
Okay.
So if you want to be successful in advertising, you should look for a small company. But the best option would be to start for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what keeps you inspired? What is motivating you? Where does your creativity come from?
Yeah, it's that's what everyone says, but it's working with great people. Because that's also the thing. If you want to start for yourself, you can do it from your attic. That's what I figured out like half a year later as well. Is I was going to networking events and talking to clients, and then again I drove back to my house and went to my attic and work out behind my computer. That's not professional, but it's not inspirational either. But everybody has to start somewhere. So if you start from your attic, it's perfect, but you have to create an environment for yourself where people feel comfortable in working with you. So you need to get a network of freelancers around you that are really good in their expertise. So that's the reason we decided to rent a studio here in the Creative Factory on the south. We're with six freelancers in there now, and they're all excellent in their work. Photographer, illustrator, copywriter, filmmaker, all those things are in our surrounding now. I think that's really important if you want to get your company off the ground. You need to work with the right people.
Okay. How can people get in contact with you and hear about Below Enemy Lines, about the DAM currency? How can they hire you or ask more about if they have questions?
Well, I'm always willing to come over. Everyone is welcome at our studio, but I don't mind if you want to invite me over to your working place or your company or your networking group. I always like to talk about those subjects. You can find me on my website, belowenemylines.com, and you can probably just give them my email address in this this video.
Yeah, I'll put it in the link below anyway.
All right,
great. Is there anything else you would like to add? Any feedback you would like to give us or to the show?
Yeah, I'm really glad those things are getting off the ground here in Rotterdam. I'm really enthusiastic about these kind of concepts, and in particular this one.
Okay,
I really like it. I'm really interested in the people coming after me.
This was the episode with Cas Bouhof. I hope you guys learned something about what it means to be in the advertising business as an entrepreneur, and that you got curious about the project of the DAM. I will put the links below so you can get more information about it. Stay tuned for more episodes. They will be coming more soon. Cas, thanks a lot for being here and for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, me too.
See you guys soon, and bye bye.